Hi, this is Danelle Flanders with Paper Tray Inks Make It Monday. Today I wanted to go into vellum overlays. Lately I've been using a lot of vellum in my cards and I love to add layers, so I think vellum is a really easy way to add lots of layers. On this card you can see there are a few things layered underneath, a few things over the top, the sentiment. So I'm going to share a few tips and tricks with you on vellum. When working with vellum, you can use it in a variety of ways on your card as an overlay. Here I've cut a panel of vellum. It doesn't go all the way across, but it's just a nice little panel to add some depth. These are a few cards that I made for one of the releases where the panel is pretty much on the whole card, and you can see I've added the delicate details die underneath and then the butterflies and sentiment over the top. Here I've added a frame where I've stamped around the edge and then added it over a stamped background. This one has a vellum, just the vellum sentiment over the top of the card. And here I've done just a vellum die cut over the top of another colored die cut, and then the sentiment is also stamped on vellum. So for this challenge, you can make any type of vellum overlay that you want to make for your card. You can do a panel and a whole piece of vellum to cover your entire card, or you can do little vellum die cuts overlaid over top of other die cuts, or the sentiment like I showed you on one of my previous cards. To make this card, you'll need a panel of Simply Chartreuse Bitty Dot pattern paper. This is A2 size, 5.5 by 4.25. And then I've cut a piece of Harvest Gold cardstock, slightly smaller. It's 3.25 by 5.5, and I'm going to adhere that right in the center. So I'm going to adhere this right in the center, and I just kind of eyeball it. I'm not really a measurer. Next, I've cut a piece of the vellum panel, just slightly smaller than the Harvest Gold, and I'm going to add a little strip of washi tape to the top of this, just to bring in the yellow a little bit more. Okay, that's going to go right in the center. And to add the layers, I've used the Delicate Details dies. I'm just going to use this die with white cardstock, and that is going to go under the vellum. As you can see, it just kind of softens the die cut slightly, but yet you can still see through it. It just peeks through. It has a really soft feel. And I'm not going to adhere that down just yet because I want to create the rose that's going to be the focal point, and I want to be able to kind of move it around and place it exactly where it's going to go. So let's set that aside for right now. I'm using the Rosy Posy dies and the Rosy Posy stamps and Rosy Posy Step 2 stamps to add some shading. So I've already gone ahead and die cut one of the Rosy Posy flowers and two of the leaves, and I'm going to be using Melonberry and Pure Poppy ink for the flower. I think I'll flip it over and stamp the ink on this way. Okay, sorry, it's a little hard to do with the camera in my way. Okay, this is the stamp we'll be using for the shading on the flower. This is Rosy Posy Step 2. I'm going to put the Melonberry away and get out the Pure Poppy. And there we have a pretty little flower that's going to go right in the center here. And then we'll do the leaves. The leaves I'm going to use Spring Moss and Simply Chartreuse. So we'll start with the spring moss. And I'll stamp the smaller one first. And then we'll do the larger leaf. And now we're going to go ahead and stamp the veins with a darker Simply Chartreuse. And here are the two leaf veins that we'll be using from Rosy Posy Step 2. And I have Simply Chartreuse ink. I love how that adds such pretty shading to the leaves. Okay, now we're ready to assemble, and you can just play around with the leaves and see how you might like them. I think I like the bigger one over here, and we'll attach those. While we adhere everything down, I'm going to do the embossing on the vellum just in case I make a mistake and I need to start over. I don't want to tear my whole card apart. So I have a new set called Thank You Kindly, and I'm going to be using a thanks stamp from this set with, I'm going to use Versamark ink and some white embossing powder. Okay, so I'm going to ink up my thanks stamp with Versamark ink. And actually I'm going to place this kind of how I think it's going to be, just so I can get the placement of the thanks. So I have my thanks stamp from Thank You Kindly, and just going to ink it up with Versamark ink. And with the vellum, polka dot vellum, it's real easy to get it lined up with the lines in the polka dots. So I think I'll put it right about there. And then I keep my white embossing powder in this little jar so it's handy and ready to go when I need it. So just blow off any extra little dots that might have stayed on the vellum, or you can take a little paintbrush and brush off the extras. Just have a few strays I want to get rid of with my little paintbrush here. It just looks so much more professional when you don't have all these little stray dots. Then I'm going to heat emboss this with my heat tool, and I keep my heat tool in my drawer right next to me so it's here whenever I need to use it. I think I use it a lot more this way than having to set it up each time. So I'll go ahead and heat emboss this. And you can see how that really makes it nice and white and bright. And now we'll go ahead and assemble our card. I'm going to take a glue dot and just attach the delicate detailed die right under the flower here. And sometimes I work on graph paper so I can see if what I'm doing is really straight. I'm just going to put a dot right in the center. You won't see that because the rose will be covering it. Okay, I went ahead and adhered the flower, but I wanted to talk to you about adhering vellum. I do have a little dot under here hidden under the rose, but as you can see, the vellum still moves around a little bit, so I want to attach it somehow. Now you can stitch across it with your sewing machine if you're a sewer. You can use a hole puncher to punch a hole on the side, and then tie your twine on that way. Or you can do what I did and just take your twine and staple it on. And what I did was make a little loop. Placed it where I kind of wanted it to be. And I'm going to take my stapler and just staple one edge. And get the side ready. And staple the side. And I'm just going to trim this up slightly. I don't like when my twine is the same on both ends, so one is slightly shorter than the other. And last, I've created a card base with Limeade Ice cardstock, which I think is a really nice color between the green and the yellow. It ties the green and the yellow together. So I'll go ahead and adhere that onto my card base, and I'll be all set. Again, I like to use the tape. It's just so easy, and it adheres the edges really well. And there's no exact science to it, which is what I really like. Go ahead and peel these off. A trick for you, how I like to adhere my card fronts to my card bases. And I always make my card fronts separately in case I make a mistake. I won't ruin the whole card. So here's the card base, and I actually turn it upside down. I turn my card panel upside down, and I put them both upright like this, and I just make sure the sides are even, and it goes on nice and straight. So here are the finished pair of thank you cards with the vellum panels. I hope you enjoy this challenge and give it a try, and I can't wait to see what you'll make. Just incorporate vellum however you can in layers. I think the vellum really adds easy layers to your card without putting too much thinking into it. So have fun. Can't wait to see what you'll make. Bye.